Well, good evening to those on streaming. I hope that I have fixed the problem here. So let me know by a message if you can actually hear me, because theoretically it's all working. But you will know more than that, because I don't know what's going out. It just says that it is streaming, and that's it. So let me know if you can, please. That would be most appreciated. And if it's not working, then there's not much I can do about it at this point in time. A very good evening, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, and this is the 19th of August, and it is as bad, not quite as bad a day as yesterday, because the wind's not quite as strong, but it's certainly very, very miserable outside. Visibility is down to about less than a mile, because the rain is just causing, it's just foggy rain and cloud, and it's horrible. Except for the temperature. We got up to 19 degrees today, and it's 18 now, 1020.8, and it's sort of in the 10 to 20 knots of northerly range. There's no boats that we're talking to at the moment, although I have got a couple of bits of information from the two boats that are at sea that we know about. Water Music is making progress up the coast of northern Queensland. They seem to be, it's all very sort of nothing up there. There's refuge areas and national parks and other sorts of things. They appear to be going towards the Iron Range National Park. This is about an hour ago, trucking along quite fast with 20 knots of easterly. 12 degrees 54 south and 143 degrees 35 east. So haven't shown any sign of stopping at this stage. So maybe they're just going to do an overnight. Haida is on its way again, thank goodness. We got a bit worried about Haida, but at the moment they're heading on a course of 010 towards Fiji, Dinnerau, at 3.5 knots. So all is good again there. 22 degrees 40 south and 179 degrees 30 east. It's 325 miles to go. I suspect that all on board will be very happy when that 325 miles is eaten up. Still quite breezy, 20 knots from the east, but maybe tomorrow, even though it will be still in the same windy strength range, it might just creep a little bit below the east and be east-southeast. We'll see what happens, but it's looking good. Got us a bit worried, but all is well. Actually, talking about following boats, and I know many of you have boats that you are following, and there's people at home that are following you on AIS or Garmin system or whatever it happens to be. Just a couple of comments. One is, when you get to an anchorage, don't turn your AIS off straight away. I know we tend to do this, and I know I do it, because you come down below and you switch everything off and probably open a can of beer or whatever. But anyway, you switch off all the electrics to save power. But the trouble with that is that if it's in between satellite passes, then anyone who's checking the AIS position will see that you are still going, and it will have your latest speed of when the satellite came across. And so for a long period of time, depending on how frequent the satellite is in that particular area, you will still show in the same position at the same speed, and it won't show where you're anchored. So just give it a while, maybe an hour or so, before you turn off your AIS. Now the other thing is, if you have people following you, make sure somebody knows what to do if you, for example, decide to heave to, or just stop somehow to refresh, have a rest. If you've had heavy weather for a few days, then it's really, really sensible to do that, to stop and have a rest. But someone needs to know about it. So just put an email through, or a radio call through, or a text on your Garmin system through to somebody, preferably the RCC or Maritime Radio. But if it's a friend that's following you, just make sure before you leave that that friend knows what to do. And the thing to do is to contact the RCC, for them to contact the RCC, the Rescue Coordination Centre, or Maritime New Zealand. It's easy to do, and let them know in case other people start to make inquiries and nobody knows that in fact all is well, you're just taking a rest. So there you have it, just a little bit of a message there. It is in fact a really good idea to take a rest, but not if it creates a bit of a problem. Okay, and thank you to Pele for letting me know that we are streaming again today. I am embarrassed to say that one of us, there's only two people here, so it's a bit hard to blame somebody else, but one of the two people in this room must have tripped over the cord from the computer, which is behind, to the microphone, this fancy new microphone I've got here, and it didn't seem to be disconnected, but I pulled everything out, put it all back, and blow me down, it worked. So
feather feet.
the feather feet person. So thanks very much to Logan and then Hannah and Alison for letting me know that there was in fact a problem, because otherwise we would have just been talking to ourselves, except for those that are listening on air. Okay, well, tonight is our last night for a while because we're going to take a break, but David is going to leave you with a little weather lesson. So I'm going to, first of all, I'll just check one final time for Haydar. Haydar, are you on frequency? Over? No, nothing heard. And I'll give a general call after David has finished. But we had a request, I think, from Shainu to cover this feature, and so here it is.
Okay, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you happen to be. And the question really is low formation on the back end of anticyclones. So I have written up a bunch of bits of information on this, and I thought I had written a paper once, but it must have got buried thinking that it was on our website. But anyway, many cruisers have noted that when we have a large and intense anticyclone, or a high as we commonly refer to it, moves eastward, a small depression often forms on the left shoulder of the high. So picture a big high, and on the left northwest side of it, that's where this little event is going to take place. Now, much of this depends on the shape of the back end of the high. And now this phenomenon is more apt to occur if the high has a notable ridge on its left side, so that the airflow makes a relatively abrupt turn from moving westward, then suddenly it turns southward. Now, some key ideas should be noted here. First, we must accept that an airstream makes a turn counterclockwise in the southern hemisphere when it speeds up. This is because of the Coriolis force, which is a function of the Earth's rotation. In other words, wind speeds up going around a ridge, and it slows down when going around a trough. This is why when you estimate wind speed using the geographic spacing that you have would be on your charts, you would adjust downward or upward depending upon whether the flow is going around a ridge or a trough. And I know everybody has GPS and all that other business, but you might be in a part of the world where you're not getting anything, but you can get some data via Met Services that would have synoptic charts for you. So anyway, that's why we just talk about that. Now, if the isobars, back to that last bit, are straight, you don't need obviously to make an adjustment. There's no turns. Okay, if we were to mark air parcels with a dye of some sort so that you can see what's going on in the atmosphere, the effect is going to be clearly noticeable. Once the air parcels make the turn and then resume a relatively straight line, the parcels must slow down, or in this mode bump into the parcel in front of it. Much the same as, well, a line of cars on a motorway. if the first few cars abruptly slow down, the ones behind bunch up very quickly, sometimes not quickly enough. So substitute cars for air, and what happens is also a bunch up, but the air has simply nowhere to go. It simply goes upward, and when the air goes far enough where the temperature lowers to the dew point, cloud is going to form and precipitation is going to follow right behind. Now, this is not quite enough to form a depression, but it's the start of one. So we shift our thoughts now to what follows the departing high. Usually it's the next high in the progression of the weather circling the globe. Now the departing high has wind flow going southward. Sure, you can picture that. But the new high has wind going northward. Now the air parcels of each high are vastly different in density. The southbound air is warm and moist, while the northbound air is cool and it's got a lot less moisture. Now the air parcels of different densities do not mix. This is an important thing in meteorology. They absolutely do not mix, they clash. So air going south clashes with the air going north, and spin is initiated. The spin is clockwise, and that of course is the same direction that a depression spins. So now we have rising air creating cloud and rain, and in addition we have cyclonic spin, and so, well, we've just created a depression. And this, in a nutshell, is how we find low formation on the back end of an anticyclone. Now, we have to sustain this, don't we, if we want to keep calling it that. So to sustain this small depression, we have to have a way to vent the rising air and a way to encourage it to continue. Therefore, we need an upper level shortwave that would be sandwiched in between two upper level ridges which maintain our high. If such a shortwave is present, then the depression develops. If there is no shortwave, it doesn't. And all that happens really is a brief period of cloud, rain, heavy squalls, all seemingly coming from nowhere and often not picked up at all on synoptic charts. If we're unlucky enough to be under all of this, we can get some miserable, seemingly unexplained weather, and as the next high moves in, it all goes away. You shake your head and you wonder what happened. So this is a general explanation of depression formation on the backside of a high. As only basics is what we've covered. Hopefully it will serve you well if you are interested in this sort of thing. Now we have this, Patricia has put this on our website.
No, I haven't yet.
She hasn't yet, but she will in the next month or so. No, less than that. So there you go.
I have a question.
Yeah, and I could see I made one little mistake in here too. So, okay, what's your question there, Chief?
Well, that's why I haven't put it on yet, because I knew it was a draft being just written. Actually, you mentioned geographic spacing, which is a kind of a complicated word, which I wonder whether people know what that is. I'm going to say what I think it is. It is when you measure between the isobars on a synoptic chart, and these are the 4 hectopascal isobars. And then you look at the little table that in our case we have pinned up on the wall by the nav station, and you look at the table for the latitude that you are at, and so you've got on the 2 axes you've got the distance, and you've got in millimeters I suppose, and then you've got your table for the latitude that you're at, and you can read off the wind speed. And we do this a lot when we get the synoptic chart in. We look at where we are and think, wonder what the wind's going to be, and that's how you go about it. I'm not sure that everybody has that little table. It's a very useful little table, but is that what you are talking about with geographic spacing?
Yeah, you have it almost exactly. The distance is actually in nautical miles, so bear that in mind. Usually charts that you purchase are going to have a table somewhere on the chart. So you buy number 346 or whatever. Typically on that chart will be a small table that will enable you to do this. And also, you can go to any meteorological book and you'll see a table that is good enough for most places around the globe, really. So as Patricia said, you can copy one which will give the distance that we're talking about here between the isobars, and it will also give you the latitude that you're at. An interesting thing is that you can have a given distance between isobars, but actually the wind is going to be greater to the north than it is to the south for a given spacing. So it's a rather odd thing. You need to look at the graphs to see what we're talking about. And most people don't bother with it because they just go by their little gribs, which give them the wind. But anyway, this is for interest. Here's the chief.
All right, so that's good. And if anyone has any questions, they can come now, or you can email us. We will not be on for a couple of weeks at least, but if you have any weather questions, just email us ghradio@extra.co.nz. We will have time, but we are just taking a break. So is there anybody with anything now? Please call. Okay, there's a couple there. I've got Gone with the Wind and Shay Nu. I'm going to go to Shay Nu first because you're the one that kicked off that talk, Jonathan. Go ahead, over.
Just short time, Margaret. Thank you, Dave, for that excellent explanation. That's what I wish you both well.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, I'll appreciate the good thoughts for the break, and yes, he'll tidy that up and we'll put it on the website. What I did put on the website today, though, was the check-in procedure, particularly for places like Tanna that are not on the main trunk line in terms of the website for Vanuatu. So I've put that information on the website. And don't forget the source for Vanuatu and New Caledonia that is particularly good is the rocket guides. Richard Cheshire keeps those very up to date and with the information there, and there's various stuff on his Facebook as well as the rocket guide information itself, so just keep a check on that. Anyway, clear with Shay Nu.
Is anybody at the Roots Festival?
Oh yes, if there's anybody at Gone with the Roots Return to My Roots Festival, we'd be interested to hear about that, but you'll still be there because it's an hour behind, so I guess there won't be anybody on, but it would be good to know about that, particularly to know what the price was because nobody seems to know. Anyway, Annie, Gone with the Wind, go ahead, over.
Good evening, Patricia. Good evening, David. I know we haven't been on the net for the last couple of days. We've been at the pool at Munster, and I think we're permanently charging this mooring bowl now because we've been on it for 3 weeks. We are looking at leaving there in Newtown on Tuesday, and I was just wondering if David could have a quick look at the weather just to get his opinion on it.
Roger that. I shall put him on the job here. Gone with the Wind, looking at leaving Vanuatu to Port Vila. Leaving. God, where's my brain? I'm on holiday already. Leaving Muscat Cove in Fiji to go to New Caledonia Tuesday-ish. So he'll have a look at that now. And yeah, well, it's time you got off that mooring. Yeah. It reminds me of being when we were in Ecuador. We actually anchored. We didn't go on a mooring, which proved to be not a good idea to anchor in the river stream, which was a very nutritious river stream. They did a lot of shrimp farming further up from where we were. So when we came to take the anchor up, it took most of the day, because we had grown we could have fed a tribe actually on what came up on our anchor chain. It was one of those things. I mean, you changed direction every day, and there was so much stuff in the water just looking for something to grow on, and it grew on our anchor chain. So, but we were there a long time because we did a lot of travelling from Bahia de Caracas, and but even so, it would have been a lot better to have been on a mooring. So just stand by a minute, Annie. I'll pass the microphone.
Yeah, Annie, well, that looks like a pretty good trip. I'm looking at it very, very quickly, and I'm just looking at one model. So I'm sure you're looking at more than one. I hope you are. From what I can see, it looks like it'll be a decent trip, mostly southeast winds, give or take on the direction, but a good direction for getting to Newcastle. I don't see any strong areas of wind at this point, but remember, that's almost a week away, so things can change, and they probably will. But at this point, using the models available now, it looks like you'll be all right. Over.
Great, thank you very much, David. Thank you for that. And where are you guys on holiday?
Well, it's not so much a holiday, it's a break. And David's heading to a hospital for a procedure, so yep, it just means we won't be on the radio, so he'll be here at home and able to answer any questions anyone might have. But yep, it means he just doesn't have a commitment, and there's nobody doing too much at the moment apart from just short inter-island hopping, so it was a good time to have a break. Actually, it's later than normal for us, because normally people have finished coming from New Zealand, but we still have Haydar on the go. It's amazing, really. So there you have it. Okay, we'll clear with Gone with the Wind. Is there anybody else? No, nothing heard. So have a good time, everybody, up there in that lovely weather. It might be a bit breezy, but well, that's even calming down now, so you can think of us here with the grey skies and the wind and the rain. It's absolutely not very wonderful in the country, as you've probably heard. In fact, pretty grim. Kaitaia up north is cut off. State Highway 1 is closed, and it's a lot of slips on the road from Kaio northwards. There's just an incredible amount of flooding around the Mangamuka Gorge, for those that know the area. It's the Nelson folk are in incredible problems there. There's more rain expected tonight, some more heavy rain. We're having these bands come across, so more rain expected tonight for them, so there's going to be even more people. There's about 1,500 people have been evacuated from the affected areas there. Taranaki has had similar problems. Everybody, in fact, down the western side of the country has had incredible problems. We're actually okay here. We've had about 26 mils, but nothing compared to what we've had in a previous deluge. So we've been not too bad on this side of the country. Well, it is this side, the other side, because we're on a peninsula out towards the east. But yeah, there's a lot of people have been affected by this weather system, so there'll be a lot of mopping up to do. Okay, have a good time, everybody. Oh, David wants the microphone back again. Hang on.
Yeah, there's a very good explanation as to why things are happening. The old expression from I don't know how many years ago is rivers of wind, and that was coined, I think it may have been coined by Bob McDavitt. Not positive on that, but I'm pretty sure it was him. But anyway, what it boils down to is that we have, as you have noticed, there are very, very huge systems that are out there. The highs that we see are huge in area. Some of them are very high in pressure as well, but the main point in all of this is the direction that the upper levels are traveling, and they're all traveling basically from the north to the south. Not exactly that direction, but sort of like that. And that's bringing in air of different densities, different temperature, different amounts of moisture and all that. And they're colliding with air going the other way from the Antarctic. And it's making a huge amount of rain. You look at satellite imagery and it's absolutely incredible how dense all of the cloud is. So that is what's happening, and it's happening time and time again over the last month or so. Yeah, about a month. So that's the reason for it. And that's it. Here's the chief.
Yeah, it hasn't been a good time for moving about, that's for sure, on the water or land. Okay, cheers everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, and Patricia and David are clear until we come back again. Cheers all.
The computer apologized to me.